Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Lim.
Good morning, Mr. Ko.
Today is 12th of April 2024.
Yes.
So basically today we're going to talk about very trending issues, tax issues on e-invoice.
Yes.
So I think lately people have been talking about e-invoice in great length, right?
Correct.
I think clients have been calling us up and down.
Inquiry about a certain issue on e-invoice. Yes.
So today we take this opportunity to record a webinar so that we will cover. Today we're going to break into a few series on e-invoicing. Today we're going to talk about the basic understanding of e-invoice.
Yes.
Okay?
Basic.
So before we proceed, let me introduce myself. My name is Mr. Koh Teck Ping. I'm the Group Principal of KTP. We are approved auditors and tax agent in Johor Bahru. With me is Miss Lim. Miss Lim, why not?
Hello everyone, I'm Miss Lim, Client Relations representing KTP and THK.
Okay, let's go straight to the topics, okay? What is e-invoice?
E-invoice defined in the Finance Act 2023, it describes an invoice or any documents issued by a person regarding the goods and services performed. And this require approval or validation by the Inland Revenue Board, which is the DG. So in layman terms, it actually is a digital representations of document of a transaction between the supplier and the buyer. So when e-invoice come in, it will replace the paper or electronic documents such as invoices, credit note, debit note. And this is almost a real-time validations, and the platform allows you to store this document in IRB portal.
Okay, I think let me explain in simple terms, okay? Currently, we issue invoice manually, okay?
Delivered.
Yes, meaning it can be by hands. It can be by hands, or it can be throughout the computer system accounting software like SQL, AutoCount, whatever software in Malaysia. Okay, so basically it's like I give you an invoice.
Yes.
Simple as that. Okay. I think with the e-invoice, we need to go through a system that administrated by Inland Revenue, IRBs. Okay. So basically, when we issue the invoice, we need to go through the system in IRB portals. Okay, so when the portal will do some validations, then they will send back to the customers. Simple as this. It means it's go through a process in akan datang. Okay, so all the invoice will need to go through the process and then before sending to the customers. Rather than current system is whereby simple, no third-party verifications. Okay, so people ask me a lot of questions. It is Buatan Malaysia or not? E-invoice. Why not, Miss Lim?
E-invoice consider Buatan Malaysia, but I think it will practice worldwide.
So basically, most of the countries have done e-invoice or is implementing e-invoice. Okay, it's not invented by our Malaysian governments. Okay, so next question is, who is required to implement e-invoice?
Answering this question, who is required, actually is cover a wide scope. It mentioned here it's applied to all taxpayer and undertaking any commercial activities in Malaysia. So it covers typically transaction between business to business. In short, we call it B2B, business to consumer, B2C, and also business to government, B2G. So from the guideline given, it lists out the individual and legal entity that need to comply with the e-invoice. It including the associations, bodies of person. I mean 14 persons are required to comply with this e-invoice. So it's starting with from association, body of person, branch, business trust, LLP, partnership. So it means it's cover almost every taxpayer.
In short, if you have tax numbers, meaning you are doing business transactions, you have business transactions, you are required to implement and follow e-invoice.
Yes.
Okay, so I think the next question is, who is exempted? I think somebody will be exempted, right?
Correct. Inner Revenue issue the guideline also mentions there are 12 persons are exempted from implementing e-invoice. So it cover the ruler, the ruling chef, former ruler, the second one. The third one is the consort of a ruler of a state, having the title of Raja Perempuan, Sultana, Tunku Ampun, Raja Permaisuri, Tunku Permaisuri or Permaisuri. Followed by the fourth one is the consort of the former ruler of the state. And the fifth one is the government. Six is the state government and state authority. 7 is the government authority. Followed by number 8 is the local authority. Number 9 is the statutory authority and statutory body. Then 10 facility, example like hospital, clinic, multi-purpose hall. Then 11 the consular office. And the last one is those individual who is not conducting any business. So this 12 person is exempted from implementing the e-invoice. And also there's one part mentioned is those who under the employment, who getting salary, alimony, dividend and zakat are also not in the scope of this e-invoice implementation.
So let me summarize. Basically, these 12 categories, we laymen or street people, first is individual not carry out business. It's like hobby. You collect stamps, you collect antiques or Rolex watch, things like that. Second is employees under employment incomes. And third one, I think most affected us is hospitals or clinic, that kind of general health facilities, right?
Yeah.
Okay, when is the date? When is effective date?
The effective date actually is effective from 1st January 2024. But from the guideline, we can see that it actually divide into 3 stages of implementation. So for those targeted taxpayer, with the first level is those taxpayer with annual turnover or revenue more than 100 million. The implement date is this year, 1st August. And
2024.
2024, yes. 2024 this year, 1st August. Then followed by the second targeted taxpayer is with the annual turnover or revenue more than 25 million and up to 10 million. Its implementation date is starting from 1st January 2025, which is next year. And the rest of the taxpayer, the implementation date is from 1st July 2025. So meaning all of us should be ready for the e-invoice implementation in 1st July 2025.
So basically there's 3 categories, okay? The akan datang one is 1st of August. For annual turnover more than 100 million. Okay? So second category come next is 1st of January 2025. It's 25 mil to 200 mil. Okay? The rest balance is 1st of July. Okay? How to determine the annual turnovers? Is there any?
Yes, Mr. Go, this is a good question. How to determine which category of the implementation date that you need to comply with. So it's basically determine the turnover revenue based on the year 2022. Either if you are a Sendram Berhad, you will follow your audited financial statement for the financial year end 2022. For those taxpayer like sole proprietor or partnership, you will follow your tax return for YA 2022. And then if in the event that you have the change of financial year end, it basically will prorate for a period of 12 years.
So basically we are looking at audited financial accounts of 2022. For non-Sendram Berhad, we look at the calendar years of 2022.
Yes.
Okay?
And here also they highlighted for those companies or taxpayer with backlogs of accounts which they didn't comply, you are having hard times to determine when is your implementation date. So we really urge for those backlog cases, kindly get your accounts done up to date to determine your implementation date.
So no doubt the word e-invoice, I believe there are some types of few types of e-invoice. I heard there's a consolidated e-invoice. I heard there's
self-billed invoice.
Would you like to elaborate more on what is the type of e-invoice?
The type of e-invoice, we have the normal. Then one is the self-billed, means you bill to yourself. For example, you are trading with the foreigner. The foreigner are unable to follow our rules and guidelines, so you have to do the self-bill. And another one is the consolidated e-invoice, where your taxpayer maybe is a layman, a normal person, that they do not require for the e-invoice. You are able to consolidate it and file it at the month.
I think consolidated e-invoice also applicable to specific industry, right?
Yes, correct.
What type of industry? B2B?
B2C, consumer. Yes, so this one will be cover more details in our next webinar.
Okay, interesting. The next question is, what is the format of e-invoice? Any template or not?
Yes, actually there are we have to first I have to let you know the type of the e-invoice to be issued. Basically there are 4 types. 3 is quite familiar to us because our existing practice, we have the invoice, we have the credit note, we have the debit note. This one is considered a normal practice, but it promote a new one, which is a refund note. So this is a type of e-invoice to be issued. And then the format of the e-invoice, actually in the guideline, there's a list of appendix 1 and 2 showing 55 fields are required in the e-invoice. So and it's categorized into the 8 category. So let me elaborate further on the 8 category. Number 1 is the party involved, which is the buyer and the supplier, followed by the supplier details, the second category. The third category is the buyer details. Then 4th one is the address, 5th contact number, 6th invoice detail, followed by the 7th is the product, the details of the product and services, and the last one is the payment information. And it elaborates further to appendix 2, where there's shipment details on the import or exports of the good. This one is more applicable to those drops shipments company. The business is a drop shipment.
So just now you mentioned 55 fields is required. So I think basically, I think first term of rule is, I think it's very hard to produce accounts using manual.
Correct.
Because every time if you are doing manual, consider you have to do it because 55 fields is quite a lot of information. Perhaps Later we will cover what are the 55 fields which are not normally seen under the current invoicing system. Okay, then you have to send to the government portals, and then the government portal will validate things like that. Okay, so my advice is always very simple. Contact your accounting vendors, upgrade your systems. Okay, basically most of the vendors, accounting software vendors, will comply with this e-invoice system, right?
Correct.
So go back to the 55. What are not commonly seen, okay, under the current invoicing system?
The income tax file number. In short, we call it TIN, T-I-N, tax identifier number.
So,
which not commonly seen in the normal invoices.
Imagine you are dealing with suppliers, buyers. First question you ask, can I have your income tax number, right?
Yes.
And the next?
Next, basically, will be on the issuer's digital signature, and also the QR code will be stamped on the validated invoice. Yes. And then the others,
business code,
MSIC code is another item that required to be in the e-invoice.
So what is business code? What is MSIC code?
Business code basically is the code number that delegated when you registered your company with SSM. And MSIC code, there's a 6, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 6 digits of the related field of your nature of business.
Basically, every industry in Malaysia, every business in Malaysia, they have a unique
business code.
Business code, MIC code. Basically, you are dealing with trading of furnitures. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for instance. Okay. Trading of papers, another numbers. So it's for statistic purpose in Malaysia. Okay. So we cover the fields, 55 fields. Then we talk about the flow, all process flows, which I just now mentioned already. You need to go through the portals and then go back to the buyers. Okay. The last one is, or you want to elaborate more on the process flow?
Yes, definitely. I'll elaborate more on the process flow because Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri they come up with a diagram on the process flow in a simplified form. So the process flow in total there's 6 process flow undergone. So the first one definitely is the issuance of the e-invoice. So when a transactions happen, is made, so the supplier need to create the e-invoice and share it to the Inland Revenue platform. So here there's 2 platform introduced by IRB. Number 1 is the My Invoice portal, which is a very simple, free, at this moment is free for the taxpayer to key in the e-invoice. And another platform is the API. The API stands for Application Programming Interface, where it is a system or software. So there's 2 platforms for you to issue the e-invoice. Followed by the second flow is the validation of e-invoice. So IRB officer, they will validate the invoice almost in a near real-time timing. And then when they ensuring the e-invoice meet the 55 requirements from the 8 category, they will validate this invoice. So once they validate, they will issue, we call it UIN, unique identifying number from IRB via this invoice portal or the API. So this, what is the usage of this UIN is basically for you, for IRB and also for us to trace back the invoices to reduce any tampering or modify on the e-invoices.
So basically all documents, all e-invoice will have a unique number like IC, right?
Correct. Then follow after the validation, Inland Revenue Board definitely will inform both parties, which is the buyer and the supplier, that the invoice is validated via the portal that they submit in. Then the fourth one is that you as a supplier, you need to share this invoice to the buyer. And then this invoice come with a new one, is they embedded with a QR code. So this QR code can be used to validate the existence and the status of the invoice. So meaning when you as a buyer, when you receive this e-invoice, it suggests you to scan the QR code to see the genuinity of this e-invoice.
Because in Malaysia, apa pun boleh jadi. We will talk about the consequences, okay, later on the last part, okay?
Okay. So when both parties, the buyer and the seller, receive the validated e-invoice, they given a stipulated period of time for you to either accept or reject this invoice. So the period of time IRB granted is 72 hours, regardless whether it's a working day or over Saturday and Sunday. So the buyer can request for rejection of the e-invoice, and as a supplier also can perform to cancel the invoice. And then when you want to cancel certain e-invoice, you require to give a justification, meaning you need to give a reason why the invoice is cancelled. For example, the item is not correct, the description is not correct, all this you are able to reject. Then followed by lastly, the supplier and buyer are able to obtain the summary of the invoice in the portal. So meaning you are able to store your invoices in the system. Yes. So basically this is the sixth flow of the e-invoice in general.
So in nutshells, let's summarize the key terminologies, the keywords, okay? The system itself, it can be My Invoice Portal or API from accounting software vendors.
Correct.
Okay. Second thing is validations through unit QR, QR numbers, things like that.
Yes.
Okay. Meaning all approved. E-invoice shall have a unique
identifier number, UIN. In short, we call it UIN.
I call it IC numbers, okay?
Yes.
Then the third one is once your buyer receive it, the buyer has 72 hours
To accept or to reject.
72 hours meaning about
3 days.
3 days. 3 working days, or including public holidays, or including, meaning you are in, let's say you receive the invoice on Fridays, you need to return back.
If you want to reject, you'll be rejected before Sunday.
Something like that, okay? So it's quite taxing, put it this way, okay? So as I say, you need to go through a system ready. You can't do it manually. Okay?
Yes.
Let's cover the final part for today's sharing. What is the consequences of non-compliance with this e-invoice?
Basically, Inland Revenue Board have highlighted 2 sections on this e-invoice. The first section is section 82C of the Income Tax Act. This one is mentioned the duty to issue the e-invoice. So at this point of time, you as a taxpayer, you have no reason to argue that I was governed under Personal Data Protection Act, I don't need to disclose all these things. So this one is overruled. And then followed by another section is section 138 bracket 4, where income tax given Royal Malaysia Custom and excise to obtain the information from the data of the e-invoice to exercise the Royal Malaysia Custom function. Because why this happened? Because the import and exports, the values of the goods by using the different tariff code for a lower rate. So this section comes in to avoid this situation. Basically, if you did not comply with these two sections, they impose a fine or a compound ranging from minimum 200 ringgit Malaysia up to a maximum 20,000. Then it also have are able to go. Also have imprisonment not exceeding 6 months or both. So all this offence is considered under criminal offence.
Let me put it that the most important thing, okay, without the e-invoice, approved e-invoice with unit numbers, your buyer, remember this word, your buyer cannot claim tax deduction on all the expenses incurred without approved e-invoice. Okay, I think this is the most significant. Okay, no buyer will deal with you anymore. Just imagine you buy goods, you buy stationery, and you buy papers or something like that without e-invoice or without approved e-invoice. You cannot claim tax deductions. Okay, I think this is the most significant impact. So one of the reasons why government want to implement this is to eliminate black economy or underground economy. Okay?
Correct.
So with this, more or less we cover the first sharing of e-invoice. I think the akan datang we will cover, as I say, sales bill or consolidated e-invoice. On the other day we will cover some specific industry, or the other day we will cover some practical issues or practical operational issues. Okay, with this, and thank you, Ms. Lim.
Thank you, Mr. Koh.
For the fantastic, knowledgeable sharings. I see you in next sessions. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you.